time we talk about Texas. Hey, this is Zach, and welcome to Bearded Politics. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's a good time for us to talk about Texas and what's going on with it. Um, I think that it would come as no surprise that if you're watching this channel, you probably have a general idea of what's going on. Right now, there is a big to-do about the federal government basically overstepping on states' rights. And so Texas has, like last year, they sued the federal government for Border Patrol agents cutting this razor wire over the Rio Grande. And the common person might be like, so what? Like, that doesn't sound like a big deal. But when it comes to Texas and the unfortunate outcome that we're in right now is that we have thousands upon thousands of people crossing into our sovereign nation illegally daily. I mean, like, I'm sure that you've seen videos of like caravans or, large amounts of people just streaming over the border. Um, but, it can cause a lot of issues if you're not already aware fiscally, crime rates, homelessness, stuff like that. If you have a ton of people and nowhere to put them. So Texas put up this razor wire to prevent this from happening. In there can't be a wall all the way across, or at least in today's world, it would be very hard to do a wall all the way across the border. But they have put a section of razor wire around this area, and the Supreme Court recently just made a ruling that the Border Patrol agents or the federal government can come in here and cut this razor wire. But it leads the question, like, if they're not going to secure the border, why won't they allow Texas to do that? And I'll present you an idea. I mean, this might not also come as a surprise, but here's just an average Joe's theory. Why wouldn't you want every person to cross the border legally and then start giving them the right to vote? Because the people that are on that side that's like, yeah, come on over, baby, we got you. Well, that's typically the Democrats that are in power, right? So if I came into a country and there is one side that says, yeah, come on down. We'll give you a free house. We'll give you a free car, Obama phone. We'll feed you and your family. Don't worry about it. Well, I'd probably vote for that side. And it stinks to think that that's the world that we live in. But I mean, really, can you think of any other option on why that they say, yes, we have a secure border, but when you look at the numbers, the hell we do. I mean, we're talking about last year, over 2 million people crossed that border illegally or are now living in the United States. That can't be secure. Can you look at any other border in the United or outside the United States, and can we have comparable numbers? I mean, I probably wouldn't look at like Europe and England because they're having their own crisis right now. But specifically here in America, we open our doors to people and say, please move here, but do it the right way. Become a citizen. Go through naturalization. There's tons of immigrants. I mean, you probably can't tell. I'm Italian. I had, a great-great-grandfather that came over Ellis Island. Like, he went through the process, and I can't imagine what it would have been like during that time, but I imagine that if a lot of those people were still around and had to go through all those hardships, it would be like a slap in the face for all the people that are just coming across the border, not really caring about our laws or our rules or anything like that, and just expecting a free ride. Now, that's a whole nother can of worms, but specifically, Texas right now is resisting. They're having their last stand, because I mean, this might sound absolutely absurd, but I think that if a state in the United States were to secede, it would probably be Texas. I mean, they could probably operate just fine without the rest of us. But, you know, I would like to think that this can come to some type of conclusion without all of that. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the answer is, but I know that you have Kamala Harris on the interview. I think it was with CNN or MSNBC, one of them other ones. Um, and they asked her, like, is the border secure? And she waffled and was like, it's got a lot of problems, but it is secure. How can we tell bold-faced lies like that? Like, there is no way that our border is secure. We just can't say it. Like, how could somebody say that with a straight face? And, fortunately, I don't live in an area that has that amount of immigration coming into there. But, like, imagine living near the border in Texas and having to deal with that every day, just a stream of people coming through. I mean, I can't blame governors for shipping them off to New York or Chicago to, deal with the problem because, you could look at the humanitarian effort of it and say, look, they're just trying to find a better way for life and their family. But okay, let's say they come over into the United States. How do you pay for it? Who's paying for it? Where are they going to live? How are they going to pay for food? How are you going to feed them? Well, if it's the American government, we're paying for it. You're paying for it. And the amount that our dollar has gone down and money doesn't go as far as it does, but we're still paying the government even more than we ever have, right? Your taxes, you pay taxes when you buy something. You pay taxes when you earn something. You pay taxes on the land that you own. You pay taxes on the house that you bought. You pay taxes on the car that you buy. I can go on and on and on. Everything that you buy or make, anything monetarily, you pay taxes on. And where do you think a lion's share goes, right? Crap funding like that, shoveling money at Ukraine, a ton of defense, and then miscellaneous. You probably got a couple billion for miscellaneous, for lobbyists and people that are sitting on the House and the Senate that are 80 years old. I would talk about Nancy Pelosi, like, thank God she's not Speaker of the House anymore, but that reptile was like 90 years old by the time that she finally got out of there. But I mean, you have politicians like Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, that are just ancient. We have people that are literally getting paid tons of money to sit in a room where they're not even paying attention. They're falling asleep. Like, something's got to give. Like, it is absolutely bonkers that we live in this world. But I don't want to stray too far from Texas. I'm really in support of a state protecting its own. Saying, hey, look, if y'all ain't going to deal with it, I'm going to deal with it. And for the federal government to overstep and be like, no. We're going to handle it our way. We're just going to let them keep on coming over. Like, I just don't understand the reasoning. What is the counter argument? What is the argument from the federal government saying, no, you can't have this razor wire here? Like, what questions are we asking? Like, why? Why is half the Supreme Court voting for that, saying that, yeah, go ahead and cut it down? Other than the idea that I proposed earlier, it's just a future voting base there. You're going to have 300,000 of them coming in. Well, that's 300,000 voters, potentially. Now, if there's a better solution, I would love to hear it, or a better theory on why it is deemed unnecessary to have that type of security at our border. I would love to hear any theories you got. But right now, that's the only one that I just an average Joe, somebody that, follows politics the best that I can. Definitely not a political pundit or analyst or anything like that. Definitely not professional. But from the commons man view, when you look at this situation and you see a state like trying to protect its borders and saying, for the people that live here, we just can't live here like this anymore. We have to secure this border and put up a security of some kind, a razor wire, a fence, a wall. I mean, when you look at, all sorts of buildings, like whether it be like, the White House on January 6th, they had razor wire. You've got all these, not necessarily prisons, but a lot of buildings that are commercial buildings that need, some sort of fortification or protection around it. they have things like fences and razor wire. It's not that crazy, and it's not racist. How would somebody say that? Oh, it's a racist thing to put up these giant walls and not let these people just stream across into our country, unvetted. Like, how can a country like Canada, okay, one of the most liberal countries that you'll ever see? I mean, they got socialized everything, right? They probably pay taxes out the ass. But how can a country like that have one of the strictest migration policies? Like, you have to have a sponsor, and before you can really even get a job, you have to have all these things in line for a long time before you can actually become a Canadian citizen. How can that be and not be racist? But if we do it in the United States, that is considered racist. And I don't understand that idea or that thought process behind that. Because, being able to have a secure border means that you can take care of your country and the people within it and not necessarily have to put so much funding into the whole vetting process or putting people up into hotels. I mean, damn, you've got New York filling up all their hotels with illegal immigrants. They recently locked down one of their schools, kicked all the kids out. They're doing remote learning so that they could house immigrants. And here's my follow-up question. At what point do we say, is this a short-term resolution or is this a long-term resolution? Is it a long-term resolution to put immigrants up in hotels, paying for them to be fed, paying for them to be housed? Like, is that the long-term solution? This is just what we're going to do indefinitely. They're just going to live their lives there. Or is that a temporary one? And if it is temporary, why can't the powers that be say, hey, look, this is just a Band-Aid. Like, this is not what we're going to do full term. We have this other strategy or this other plan in place. But I can only speak to somebody through the average purview. I have not heard anything like that, where they're like, hey, we're only housing them for a certain amount of time. We're going to try to get them on the path to citizenship. We're going to try to find them jobs, or we're trying to do this. No, it's just more of like local leaders. I mean, local leaders that are typically of the Democratic Party that say, please come to our district or our area so that we can house you, we can feed you, and then we can get your vote. And once you have their vote, then you're still in power, right? If you don't put term limits on people in the House or the Senate, they're just going to keep filling their pockets. They're just going to keep lining their pockets with just the money from donors or whatever means. But they're also going to have their people in place that's going to keep getting them elected. Their little precinct or area, they're going to have their guys in place to ensure that they're going to still get elected and keep making that good old American dollar. Something has to change. I don't know what the answer is, but a normal person like me shouldn't be able to analyze a situation like this and say, this seems silly. Like, what we're doing, like, from let's say our leadership within the United States, our government or whatever, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever, is saying that we have this secure border. It's all good. How can you sit there and say that and then have 2 million people last year illegally cross the border into the United States and that are currently living here off the American dime, off the taxpayers' money? How can we say these things and they both be true? You can't. I mean, obviously you can, because they're still in power and they're still saying these things. But how do we as the American people let that happen? How do we change? How do we change these things? I mean, I would propose something like maybe electing Donald Trump for the next election, because I would have a pretty strong opinion in that he would shut down that border and fix these issues and make it a priority, making it a priority for America first. And again, I talked about in the last episode, that's why he's so relatable, is that he talks about American issues. He doesn't go on tangents about, Israel, like Nikki Haley talking about this foreign war that we have to get into for some reason. Like, we had to get into this Ukraine conflict and shovel tons of money at them for democracy when they themselves aren't even a democracy. Like, I can't even remember what the Ukraine guy's name is, to be honest with you, but he himself is not a good guy. And yeah, we were in this proxy war with Russia, but for what? Like, what did we gain? What is democracy better now? Like, is it all good? Because it sounds like we're about to get into another war with Iran or Yemen now. If you haven't heard about the Houthis, it's the next rebel group that we're going to have to blow up because of it's important now. We be scared of the Houthis. Um, I don't know. It's always something, and it's always going to be the next thing we got to fight or find or bomb or whatever. We have to be in some type of conflict. But why? I would say maybe resources. That might sound like a radical idea, but hear me out. Typically in the Middle East, there's tons of resources like oil or, oil that America probably wants. And how best to get those things? How about a foreign conflict? How about we put democracy on you and then we kind of take some resources as payment and then we get back out and we'll start it all over again. Anyways, I just thought I'd bring up a couple thoughts that came to mind. And hopefully I'm not too out there in my thinking. And if I am, I love the idea of a dissenting opinion or like two people that don't agree on a certain topic but can find a common ground. And I don't think that there's enough of it out there. And so I would like to say, like, I'm one of those people that if you don't agree with me, put it in the comments or something and maybe we could figure out a way to have a conversation. It doesn't even have to be on my channel or whatever. Maybe we could have a conversation and find that common ground. And there's too much like, you believe a different way. I hate you. You're wrong. Whatever. You've heard it all. You're a racist. You're a bigot. If you voted for Trump, you're this, you're that. You're a white supremacist. Like, these are the words that are labeled to people that don't believe a certain way. And I feel like there is a place for all thought. And I mean, I can believe that your opinion's wrong, but I'll be damned if I won't fight for your right to have that opinion. And I don't think there's enough of that out there. So if you're like-minded, I'd like to keep making episodes with you. I'd like to keep tuning in. And I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.